Welcome back to the Gridiron Drive. Free agency's here. We're talking about the New York Jets. There's plenty to dive into. If you're a fan of the offseason like we are, if you love the NFL draft, free agency, all that good stuff, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and hit the button. You're not going to want to miss any of the content we have set to come your way. Diving into everything that's happened in this first wave of free agency for the New York Jets today. I am Anthony Correnti, joined as always by Peter Traina. Pete, how we feeling? Free agency rolling along.
We're feeling great, man. It's been a fun 2 days. Twitter was down. It came back. It was down again.
Down again.
Now it's back. Elon, what are you doing? That was my Trump impersonation. That was not good. Yeah, man, it's been fun. I'm looking forward to talking about your New York Jets here. They've had an interesting offseason, interesting past couple of years. Curious to see your takes on this, and let's just jump right into it, man. Let's talk about their key departures. This offseason, the Jets saw a couple notable players leave the roster. Where are they at, Anthony?
Yeah, lost a handful of guys. None really surprising. DJ Reed, the cornerback, leaves for a nice sized deal with Detroit. Hassan Reddick somehow signs a free agent deal with the Bucs like immediately.
The second
as free agency opens.
Yeah.
I don't understand how anybody wanted Hassan Reddick that bad that they needed to sign him immediately. But Hassan Reddick gets $14 million from the Bucs. No disrespect to the San Francisco 49ers, or I'm sorry, the Washington Commanders. I'm thinking of his old team. No disrespect to the Washington Commanders. If you're a fan of the Commanders, maybe you want to cover your ears at this point. The Javon Kinlaw contract is probably the worst contract handed out so far in free agency. We got like 3 years and $45 million from the Commanders, which is laughable, honestly. The Jets paid him like $7 million last year, and he was frankly overpaid. He was a truly terrible player on the field. Morgan Moses, their right tackle, leaves. Sign a multi-year deal with the Pats. That one hurts a little bit, but the Pats needed O-line help. And I'm sure the Jets wanted Moses back, but they were probably not going to do something multi-year like the Pats were willing to do. And then they lost Solomon Thomas, which is just another, Robert Saleh player who's just been here through the Saleh regime, but wasn't really particularly good or valuable to them in many ways. So if I'm remembering right, I think Thomas signed with the Cowboys, right? I want to say it was like a 2-year, $8 million deal or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest loss to fill in of those guys to me is DJ Reed. The bridge largely seemed burnt, on both sides. Like they just seemed ready to kind of part ways. But DJ Reed's been a pretty good player for them for the last couple of years. So, got to hope that your plan at corner across from Sauce works out. But DJ Reed, I think, is the biggest. The rest is kind of like, honestly, addition by subtraction. Like Hassan Reddick, goodbye forever. It didn't work out. It's terrible all around. Good riddance. Better luck for the Bucs. I don't know.
I guess,
and Javon Kinlaw, like I said, I can't believe anybody gave Javon Kinlaw a multi-year contract offer. Never mind one that was $45 million, like $30 million
guaranteed. I can't help but notice, Anthony, that you didn't mention two players on this list. You didn't mention Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
They're so far struck from my brain already. Yeah, the Jets release Aaron, yes. I don't know if they actually technically have released Aaron Rodgers
I don't know
yet.
How that works, yeah.
But they released Devontae Adams. He signs with the Los Angeles Rams. And Aaron Rodgers, we don't know where he's ended up yet. Seems like maybe just a skip across town to the Giants. But yeah, Devontae's a big loss, but you always knew Devontae wouldn't be back unless Rodgers was back. So they do have a big need to fill at wide receiver.
Yeah, I think that's going to be paramount that they fill that in the draft. So yeah, those guys have pretty, like you said, there wasn't two significant players. I think DJ Reed and Morgan Moses are probably the most important ones, but they should be able to fill those. Do they have any more cap space? Or what are they looking like right now?
Yeah, they've got some room. I don't frankly think they're gonna like spend a ton more on like external guys.
Yeah.
it wouldn't shock me so much. Like, I just think, it's crazy because, like I said, we're recording this Tuesday night and like the big top of the market largely feels gone. So I think they're probably going to try and be a little more reserved in how they hand out money over the next coming days or weeks. And which makes me wonder if they look at it as a time to like, maybe we do the Sauce extension or maybe we do the Garrett extension now and get one of those out of the way this offseason and maybe try and do the other one next offseason.
And they
still have some room to maneuver. And then there's still like the weird hanging on things of like, they'll cut Alan Lazard eventually, which saves some money. Like, we'll see what happens with CJ Mosley. Like, they could cut CJ Mosley as a post June 1 cut. It doesn't save them a ton. And like, who knows if Mosley will just retire or maybe he wants to play one more year. And if he does want to play one more year, like, even though Mosley's lost a step, you probably just bring him back from what it would save you, like, to cut him post June 1 and just have like, solid locker room guys, solid leader in the first year of the Aaron Glenn show.
They could be a sneaky team to look into the comp pick formula for next year because I think they're in the positive right now with who they've lost and what they've brought in.
Looking at it on over the cap, like right now, based on who they brought in and who they lost, they have them penciled in to get a 4th for Hassan Reddick and a 7th for Solomon Thomas.
Okay, so
the rest offsetting. So, but funny enough, I read something today that said since comp picks started getting awarded, I think the Jets have received the second fewest in the league, which not totally surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did have a lot of guys leave early in free agency this year.
All right, well, let's get into some of the signings that the Jets have made so far. They've been kind of proactive. I think they've only got 3 signings besides the guy they've re-signed. So let's get right into it, Anthony. Who did the Jets bring in?
Well, before this free agency really got underway, they re-signed Jamie Sherwood, 25-year-old linebacker, gave him 3 years, $45 million. The off-ball linebacker market has exploded, which is kind of crazy. Like, for comparison's sake, like the Jets extended Quincy Williams a couple of years ago, and I think they gave him, it was a 3-year, like $18 million deal. And Quincy made an all-pro. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, I mean, Sherwood's a good young ascending player. He was a college safety, transitioned to linebacker. So, I mean, there's an argument to be made that we still haven't really necessarily seen the best of him at linebacker. I think he had like 158 tackles last year. It got voted as the team MVP. I thought maybe he would leave because I thought he would get a big deal like this, and I didn't know if the Jets would be the ones to give it to them. But I also think it's a good sign from a new regime to be like, okay, 5th round pick, homegrown guy, played well, going to reward him with the deal. Sounds a good message.
It's also these linebackers that are getting these big money. They're not really free agents. They're getting re-signed.
Yeah.
Which kind of shows you that, like, hey, they know our system. These are the guys in the middle of the field. Some of them are calling, the defense. Let's lock these guys in, and you don't want to pay big for them in free agency. At least you know what you're getting from these guys, because the linebacker is kind of hard for me to, not that I'm a scout, but kind of watch them and analyze them in the college game, I should say.
For sure. The headline is obviously, Aaron Rodgers gone, Justin Fields in. So they give Justin Fields 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. That's day one starter money. It's not going to be a competition with him and Tyrod, which is good. I think it's good for Fields to come in and probably hear, you're our guy. Like, none of this, we have Tyrod here to be your backup, help you out, whatever. He's there if you miss time, but none of the quote unquote controversy, whatever. I think it's a fair deal for Fields. I think it's about what I expected him to get on the open market. It seems like the Steelers were, by all accounts, maybe a little hesitant to give guarantees into the second year. And I think it bears mentioning that I think that when the Steelers benched Justin Fields and then never went back to him, it never really made sense for him to sign there without hitting the market. Like, at least the way I look at it from what I would assume his perspective would be. And maybe that's wrong, but it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see like what the Jets offense really looks like. The easy thing to suspect is they're going to try and run the absolute hell out of the ball. with Fields, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. But, they hired Tanner Engstrand as the offensive coordinator, Detroit guy who, by all accounts, was pretty involved in Ben Johnson's game planning and stuff like that. So while on one hand, you want to be like, okay, we'll see shades of the Detroit offense. On the other hand, it's like, do bigger polar opposites at quarterback exist than Jared Goff and Justin Fields? Like, you know what I mean? Just like stylistically, two different guys. So I'm curious to see what it all looks like, but if what the offense looks like, my gut says we'll see a lot of, him under center, decent amount of play action, mix in some like RPO design run stuff. Obviously, you're not going to take that away from him since that's what makes him so unique, his athletic ability. But it's at least exciting. Like, they took the best swing that they could given the situation. Like, it is more inspiring than, hey, we signed Carson Wentz. Like, that would have been a full-blown revolt.
Yeah, and listen, if it doesn't work this year for Fields, he's on a make or break it type situation, right? It's like,
yeah,
they didn't give him a crazy long deal. It's a win-win for both parties, and I think that'll help both parties in the end.
Yeah, I agree. And then they signed Brandon Stevens, the corner from Baltimore, 3 years, $36 million, and they signed Andre Sisco, the safety from Jacksonville, for 1 year, $10 million. I like the Andre Sisco signing. I expect that Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilks play a lot of man, a lot of cover one, bring a lot of pressure, and Sisco gives you a guy that has, true kind of like rangy free safety ball skills on the back end of the defense, which they haven't had in forever. Safety was a total afterthought in the Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas era. So I honestly would have liked it a little bit more if they could get him on like a 2 or 3 year deal, and maybe the average per year was slightly lower, but move some guarantees around. I get it, 1 year, $10 million deal. They still have a need at safety. The Brandon Stevens deal, I'm surprised by the money. I mean, it's $12 million a year for a guy who, by all accounts, got picked on pretty brutally last year for the Ravens. I think when you look at PFF, he was like the 100th graded corner out of like 116. And I know PFF isn't gospel, but literally anybody you ask or talk to seems to say like, yeah, Brandon Stevens got picked on pretty mightily. But, the year before, it seemed like he had a pretty good year. So part of me wants to give Glenn the benefit of the doubt as a former corner. Maybe they see something there that they think they can coach out of him. But the fact is, like, hopefully they can get him right and coach him up, because if he's penciled in as CB2, like, you're going to get thrown at, like they're going to throw at you when Sauce is on the other side. So we'll see what happens there. That one, I'm a little, let it play out up in the air, but was a little shocked by the money.
I'm not so shocked at the money. Like, $12 million is $12 million. It's, the cap keeps going up, and these deals that used to seem ridiculous or not as ridiculous. But I'm just, the 3 years was what was like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know. I get it on one hand. He's got the size. He's a big, fast corner. There's stuff to like there, but the tape was a little rough last year.
All right. Well, despite some of the recent signings, the Jets still have some areas requiring attention. What are some of the biggest needs and strategy for the Jets this upcoming season?
I think, to me, there's a couple pretty glaring weaknesses right now. One is defensive tackle next to Quinnen Williams. I would still love if they could add a guy like Levi Onwuzurike. You need some beef next to Quinnen. Like, they got absolutely ran on in that spot last year. They need to get bigger, tougher up front. We'll see, if Mason Graham falls to them at 7. I think that's the easy pick, but it's a matter of, does he make it there? If not, maybe it's something that they address on day 2. Pass catchers, the tight end room is absolutely barren. Tyler Conklin's a free agent. At this point, it wouldn't shock me if they just brought Tyler Conklin back and tried to add another tight end or two through the draft. The only tight end on the roster is Jeremy Ruckert, who hasn't been very good. And post, cutting Devontae Adams, you need more at wide receiver. It seems like they were in on Josh Palmer before he went to the Bills. But you have Garrett Wilson and really nothing else. It's Malachi Corley, who didn't do anything last year, and Xavier Gibson Alan Lazard's technically on the roster right now, but he'll be cut eventually. So the only problem on the wide receiver market, like, you're not adding anybody of real consequence right now. It's maybe add a guy. I don't expect them to get in on like the Amari Coopers, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, something like that. It just doesn't feel like the right timeline. Like, all those guys feel like they'll probably hang out and wait for a spot on a contender to potentially open up. But to me, it's like pass catcher, defensive tackle. I still think they need another safety, and you have to figure out right tackle.
Yes.
Like the nice thing is you have 4 of your 5 offensive line starters returning, who were all pretty good last year. But losing Morgan Moses, a tackle, again, you're not going to add a free agent tackle right now that you feel really great about starting, which I think opens up the conversation of, is Armand Membu the pick at 7 if he's there instead of going a different route? But got to figure out right tackle as well. Makes me wonder if they'll consider bumping AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker, out to right tackle again, because they feel like, it'll be easier to fill guard than it is tackle. But see what happens.
Yeah, I kind of just hope they just let him stay at guard.
I do too.
It's like you can't. I know, there's versatile guys, but at some point, it's just like, gosh, can you just let me play? And that's not just AVT.
Do what I do.
Yeah, let me just do what I do. But yeah, I definitely agree with you with the right tackle. Moses' departure is low-key kind of a big need for them. And wide receiver, defensive line. What about a guy like Tim Patrick or something like that? Is he still out there?
Yeah, he is out there. That feels like the guy that they'll eventually, he was in Detroit last year. Like, he's not great and he's had injury issues, but like a guy who can give you some reps and be a solid like depth option. So it's like, can you sign a Tim Patrick and, you draft somebody on day 2, whether it's with the 2nd or 3rd round pick. That's the thing that's killed them over the years. Like, it's great that you hit on Garrett, but you got to hit on some of these day 2 or day 3 receivers like every other team in the NFL seems to.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to do it. So they got to figure it out.
And maybe Malachi has a bigger role, but they still need another guy. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Final thoughts. Is that it?
Yeah, I think it's a semi-exciting start. I think the probably majority of Jets fans were hoping for Justin Fields, right? So it feels good that they were able to get that done, close that deal. It's going to at least be exciting. Like you said, if it's good, great. You have a lottery ticket and he's under contract next year and you can figure it out then. And if he's not great, you're not financially burdened forever where you can still address it in the 2026 draft. So I think now, play the market smart, see if you can score some nice deals on the defensive line, the offensive line, because aside from needing a right tackle starter, some interior line depth would be nice as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, their depth pieces on the interior aren't quite what you would want them to be. So hopefully, play this next tier of the market pretty smart and then see where the draft takes you and try and fill it out from there.
The Jets have like a sneaky good quarterback room too. I mean, they don't have any star, but you could do a lot worse than the backups they got with Jordan Travis and
I do wonder a little bit if is signing Justin Fields indicative of one of two things? Is it indicative of this is what the market had and we saw it was our best option and this is what we're going to do? Or is it indicative of this is the type of quarterback we want? Like, we want a quarterback that's a dual threat. Because if that's true, then does it become we'll take a day 2 swing on Jalen Milroe and let him develop behind Tyrod? Because nobody should want to play Jalen Milroe this year. But if you can draft Jalen Milroe and let him sit not only behind Fields, but also behind Tyrod, who's a pro, worse situations to be in. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by whether it's a pure skill set thing that they identified and they're like, okay, we want one of these athlete dual threat types at quarterback, or if it's just he happens to be an athlete dual threat type quarterback that was the best available quarterback to us. So this is what we're going to do and we're going to make it work. If you're a fan of the Jets, like I am, comment down below. Let us know what you have thought of the offseason so far. If you're in on Justin Fields, out on Justin Fields, happy with the decisions they've made, and what do you want them to do next in the offseason? Comment down below. Like we said at the top, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any more content like this. Draft talk, free agency talk, fantasy talk. We're going to get into all of it. yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what you liked, what you disliked, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Keep the drive alive. Don't forget to like and subscribe.